This video will show you how far the American leader's vision is. Did you know that the first American-made semiconductor chip is the chip? 10 years later, the number of transistors in a chip has increased to 16. However, the founder of Intel chips, Garden Mode, says that every year engineers make a chip with twice the capacity and only position. Seems to hold true to this day. Next, IBM created the world's most powerful chip when it was only the size of a fingernail but contained 50 billion transistors, and the world's largest chip from Cerebras contained 2,600 billion transistors. So the number of transistors on the chip is essentially uncountable to the naked eye. Initially, only Americans made chips and buyers were only US government and US military. At first, computers were only used for NASA, missile systems and other military applications. Initially, the American chip company handled the entire supply chain from design to production and assembled them into a finished package that was loaded onto a computer. All are made in the USA. But in 1960, the chip companies saw great potential when they sold chips to businesses for consumer computer applications. And indeed, the computer industry has developed to create a revolution for mankind. Besides, American chip companies also realized that they could transfer technology to other countries, hire cheap labor to make more money. The US government also agrees. Only one problem is that all countries with chip factories must be allies of the US, including Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. Because now the US government has realized that, without a reliable partner, the secrets of US chip manufacturing technology can be stolen and bypassed. Besides, placing only on allies also shows that the US trusts its allies. Chip production brings economic benefits to both sides. As a result, their relationship becomes stronger. The US also prohibits these chip companies from sharing technology with its rivals such as Russia and China. But one thing that Americans didn't anticipate was that Asians are actually too smart. Within a short time, allied nations of the United States had begun to invest in their own chip companies. During the 70s and 80s, Toshiba in Japan and Samsung in Korea began designing and manufacturing chips to compete with the Americans. By 1990, a Taiwanese company called TSMC had achieved unimaginable success. The chip they produce is even more advanced than the most modern American chip. That means the Americans have been overtaken. Even so, however, the American vision is always one step ahead. Specifically, although TSMC is currently the most advanced chip manufacturing company in the world, surpassing the US, only 3 US companies can write software to design chips, and Taiwan's TSMC is still dependent on the US. Next, there are some components in the chip-making machine that only Americans can create. Thus, the US still holds the leading part in this chip production line. So what about China? Controlled by the US for so long, how does China join the chip race? When it comes to China, they're off to a bad start. In addition to the US preventing it from accessing chips during the Cold War, China also accidentally lost a lot of talent. When China's brightest scientists and engineers were expelled from the country by leader Mao Zedong. But decades later, China's leaders soon realized their mistake and at the same time realized it. They are required to participate in the chip race if they want to confront the US. After the end of the Cold War, relations between the United States and China became more friendly. At this time, China asked the United States to lift sanctions, including a ban on selling chips to China. The US, of course, agrees. Taking that opportunity, the Chinese government poured money into its own chip design and manufacturing companies. One of the important things they did was call for talented engineers of Chinese origin who are working for chip companies around the world to return to serve the country. With its efforts, in 2019 China has mastered the entire 14-nanometer chip manufacturing process. Although 15-nanometer chip technology has been around since 2001 and 10 nanometers in 2002. Thus, China is about 20 years behind the US and its allies. But recently it was reported that China has successfully researched 7-nanometer chips but did not make it public. Even so, China cannot make chips below 5 nanometers, because the only Quang-Cac machine to make this chip belongs to the US ally, and China has no chance to buy these proprietary machines. With memory chips, China and other countries are really hard. But if China wants to pass the US and artificial intelligence computer power, China needs more energy. But the US can know that. Currently, Taiwan produces 60% of all chips in the world. The most advanced chips in the world, they come from 90%. And what's interesting is that Taiwan chose the US, not China. Thus, the US has won China in this race. And they technically can't send the user. Thank you for watching the video. Please click and subscribe to see the latest videos.